Have y'all ever wanted something so badly? I mean, you desired something. And then once you got it, it was okay. And later on down the road, you think, what in the world did I do? I've done that. You know, a person desires a relationship. And he or she, man, I desire to know that person. Then they get married. It's a little different then, isn't it? You desire that dream job. Man, if I can just get that job, I'll be happy. Life will be good. I'll make more money. There'll be no problems. Then you get the job. And in 2 years, you're looking for another job. Our desires are something else. Man, the things that we desire in life. I had a friend. I met him when I was 18 years old in the Air Force. His name was John Harris. John Harris is the guy that invited me. I was already saved, but he was the guy that invited me to go to church with him. Went to Anchorage Baptist Temple. It was a fundamental, independent, Bible-believing Baptist church. Went there and I loved it. I really knew I was hearing truth. I was getting truth from the Bible, from God's man. John was a good Christian. Man, he was a really good Christian, on fire for the Lord. He would go get tracts all the time when he was off and go in downtown Anchorage and hand out tracts. But John grew up a poor man. Didn't have much. Grew up in Ohio, but in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I mean, he was there. It was a rough area. I would describe his life, akin to J.D. Vance's life. And I think most of you know who that is. It was a life of not having much. This good Christian guy, a guy that had an impact in my life at 18. He had some desires in his life. And it was to get out of the Air Force. And once he was out of the Air Force, he had a desire to go work on the North Slope of Alaska. Do you know what that is? The North Slope of Alaska. It's where all the oil's at. And you make, this would have been 1978, 79, something like that. Jeff, I am going to get a job, and I'm going to go work on the North Slope of Alaska. And back then, they were making $150,000 a year. Huge money back then. And he wanted that. I mean, I'm living for God, but this is what I want. I've never had something like that in my life. I said, John, do you realize you work up there 3 months and then you get 3 months off? What about church? Where are you going to go to church at up there? He said, I'll take my Bible and I'll read my Bible and I'll study my Bible and I will do better doing that than having to go to church. So he did. Didn't see John for 3 months. And when he came back, I saw him. Do you know where I saw him? In a bar. I wasn't in the bar. Okay, let me get this right. I saw him entering into a bar. And I thought, oh my, John. I didn't have cell phones or I would have called him. I waited outside for him. And he come out. I said, John, what's going on, man? Well, you know, there's some things that I want in this life. There's some things that I desire in this life. Never saw John again. He had desires that he wanted fulfilled. I've tried to find him through Facebook and all that in recent years. Can't find anything on John. Don't know what happened to him. We never know where our desires will lead us. We never know. We think we know, but we don't. Turn to Psalms 78. Our own desires are a dangerous thing in our life. Psalm 78 and verse 29. So they did eat and were well filled, for he gave them their own desires. It's interesting, I find, that the Lord said within their own desires they were well filled. They had all that they wanted. They had everything that they had hoped for. They had all their dreams come true. Verse 30, but they were not estranged from their lust. What does that sentence mean? They weren't estranged from their lust. I mean, they were, yes, sir. They wanted more, man. They were right there. Their lust was right here. They weren't apart from it. They weren't estranged from their lust. But while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them and slew the fattest of them. As a young guy, I could have said, well, that's not going to happen to me because I was very skinny, but I may be one of them nowadays. And slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still and believe not for his wondrous works. This is a dangerous place to be in life. When we get to the point of life that I want what I want, where my desires are going to lead and direct the path of my life. Be careful about that, guys. Well, I've heard parents say, son, daughter, what do you want to do with your life? I'm going to tell you, that's the wrong question. The question is, what does God want you to do with your life? I have no idea, son, where your decisions will take you. But I know the decisions that God leads you in will lead you to a place that will benefit you in life. There's no greater desire in my life than to know that my children walk in truth. Bad quote, but it is Bible. One of the worst things that I can do in Jeff's life is to want what I want. For him to give me the desires of my heart. He will let you do it. He let the children of Israel have their desires. He will let us have the desires that we want in our life. But man, me wanting those desires is the worst thing that can happen in my life. Turn over to Numbers chapter 11. We're going to look at quite a few verses today, but I think it's important for us to see what the desires of our heart lead to. Numbers chapter 11. I'm going to skip throughout this chapter, but let's start in verse number 4 of Numbers chapter 11. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a-lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. Can't you see what my life is? I desire this. I don't have what my flesh needs. There is nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. And the manna was as coriander seed, and the color thereof as the color of bdellium. And the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills and beat it in a mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it and tasted of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. This is what God was providing. And it wasn't good enough to meet their own personal desires in this life. Many of us have made mistakes in life because we were being supplied by God Almighty in the things that we need in life, but it wasn't good enough. I wanted more. I wanted what I wanted in life. And when the dew fell upon verse number 9, when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased. Go down to verse 18. And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourself again tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh. For ye have wept in the ear of the Lord, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. And ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month, until it come out at your nostril, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have despised the Lord which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why come we forth out of Egypt? Go down to verse 31. And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quail from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, as it were 2 cubits high, 2 cubits, about 36 to 38 inches high in quail. They had all the meat now. There it is, go get it. We're going to see what happened to them. And the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. And he that gathereth least gathered 10 homers. And they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, before it was even chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. And he called the name of the place Kilbrathatava, because there they buried the people that lusted. What do we desire in life? I'm going to tell you, God's been good to me, and God's been good to you. Wherever your station is at in life, whatever problems we have in life, God has been good to us, but our desires drive us to want more than what God has done for us in our life. We have no idea the consequences that ensue based upon the decisions for my desire that I make. Do you know that the children of Israel, God had special blessings for them? Look in Psalm chapter 81. They received far less than what God intended to do in their life because of their personal desires and what they wanted. Psalms chapter 81 and verse number 10. I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open wide thy mouth, and I will fill it. Here's what I see. When I read, I get pictures in my mind. This is what God wanted. I'm just waiting on you, God. I'm waiting on you to take care of the needs that I have in life. But we don't want to do that. We do not want to do that. What can I see that I want in this life? But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsel. I know what I should do. I'm a smart guy, and I know what I need in life. No, we don't. We have no idea. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways, I should soon have subdued their enemies. He said, if you walked and followed me and followed my desire, I would have taken care of all these people for you. But not now. You're going to see what this leads to. Take and subdue their enemies and turn my hand against their adversaries. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rocks should I have satisfied thee. I have dozens. I've been saved for 51 years now. Long time. Saved longer than most of you are old, except for Roy. I've seen many people, good people, pursue their own desires, not caring what the Lord wanted. If I'm honest, I have to say I fit in that category. If you're honest, you have to admit you fit in that category. I think about this individual who is actively serving God here, many years ago. They come to me and told me, I want a fuller life. I want a more prosperous life than I have now. Their marriage is good. Their kids were good. They told me, I feel like I'm weird in this world, living a life like this. I'm odd. Let me have a timeout in the story. That's odd. It may be a majority, but that's odd. They told me, I want to be normal. I want the finer things of life. And of course, they stopped coming to church here because they're a good Christian. They went to another church. And in less than a year, the church wasn't right. They left it. And they went to another church. And they rarely go to the other church. Very seldom do they darken the doors of a church. Have they gotten what their desires were? Yeah. Yeah. They become successful. They've done well out there. But I know their kids. I know where their kids are at today. The cost was way too great, in my opinion. And I won't say any more about them so nobody recognizes them, but I will say this. Don't believe everything you see on social media. Don't believe it. Be careful when our desires diverge from His desires for us in life. They will lead us astray. Not they might. They will lead us astray. You don't have to turn there. But Isaiah 53, famous verse. And we really focus on the last part of this verse often. But the first part says this: all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. My desires have never led me to the destination that I want to go to. Not one time in life. You say, well, Jeff, the Bible says that He'll give me the desires of my heart. It does say that, but that's the wrong context of what it's saying. Let me read it to you. That's Psalms 37:4. Delight thyself in the Lord, and He will give thee the desires of thine heart. If I want what He wants, the desires of my heart are going to be there. They're going to be present in my life. Our own desires. Turn to Psalms 119. Our own desires, apart from aligning with His, lead us astray from God, away from God. Psalms 119:67. Before I was afflicted, I went astray. Afflicted in the things that I wanted to do, the sins that I had. Before I was afflicted, before I was hurt, prior to that, I went astray. I started wanting to do things that I wanted to do. Look at 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 15. Which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. I'm saying we need to be very careful about wanting what we want versus what God wants. It will lead us astray. It will lead us in paths that we don't want. We won't want to cash the check when we're there. I promise you. Astray means out of the right way, out of the proper place that you and I should be. There was another family. Oh, I wish I didn't have all these examples in my head, but I'm replete with these examples. They attended church here. And this was, 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, a long time ago. He got mad at the preacher because the bus wasn't working right, like the pastor's supposed to fix the bus. He got mad at him. And he got so mad, he went to him the next day and said, Genesis 3:5 35:3 says, and let us arise and go to Bethel. God told me right then I need to leave there and go to Bethel. And he did. He did. We have no idea what the consequences of our desires lead to. I won't do it, but I could tell you the repercussions that man has faced because of this. I am going to go off of this for a minute. That decision, whether a child, his child, God. That decision, whether to them, leading to divorce. When we go astray, we have no idea where that will lead us. I was in the store with my parents and grandparents. I was 5, 6, 7, a little kid. I was a rambunctious little kid, let me tell you. I know you can't tell that now, but I was a rambunctious kid back then. We were walking out, and my grandmother's favorite store was Goldsmiths. You probably remember that, Terry, Goldsmiths. I think Macy's bought them out years ago. Nice store. I was walking right next to them. We were walking down these big aisles, and over here there was a round clothes thing. I had sneaked into it, being the rambunctious kid. They looked around. I was no longer with them. I saw them, but they didn't see me. Oh, life was fun then. What I did, I went astray. I wasn't under their purview of life. I wasn't walking with them. Oh, I could see them, but I was not with them. That's what we do often with God. We get astray. I don't want to walk with you. I want to walk where I want to walk. When we go astray from the Lord, that puts us on the path to go away from God. Going astray leads us away from God. And I've seen it over and over and over again. Romans 8:6 says, for to be carnally minded, going astray, going away, doing my own desires, carnally minded, is death. But to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That's what I want in my life. Terry, that's what I want in your life. And Dave, that's what I want in your life, is life and peace. And Charity, I want that in your life. Peace. That only comes with continuing to walk with Him and not go astray pursuing my desires and my wants in this life. For me, those I love, I become very concerned about the unintended consequences of their decisions. Here are 3 ways that we can ensure that we don't go astray and that we don't go away from Him. That's the only place where there's protection from the evils of this world. There's no other place where there's protection for our life, for our family, than being under His umbrella, walking with Him. If we're going to avoid going astray and going away, number 1, we must be circumspect. The best example I ever heard about being circumspect was from Dave Bider. He was a pastor here 25 years ago. And he tells a story about house sitting for a couple that had a dog. They kept the dog in the basement. And he got sick and couldn't come for a few days. And you know what dogs leave after a few days? All over the basement. He said he'd come downstairs, turn on the light. Oh my goodness, the food was on the other side of the basement. He said, I had to walk circumspectly through that basement to get to the food. We need to be circumspect about our desires. Is this me? Is this what I desire in life? Or is this what you desire for me? We need to think like that, being circumspect about the decisions and the desires that we make in life. Discern my own lusts. I know what my lusts are. Do you? I know when those things start raising their ugly heads in my life that I need to be careful and push back from those things because it leads me to a very bad place in life. And be able to discern the Lord's will. Lord, does this line up with your word? Is this what I should do in life? I do all I can to suppress my desires and want to follow his. Number 2, be patient in life. We are not a patient people in life at all. We live in a now society. I want it now. Is it Baruka? I want it now. That's who we are. Prior to Mac and Richard opening their restaurant, when you went out to eat decades and decades ago, it was not a 15-minute or a 30-minute or an hour deal. When you went to a restaurant, you're going to be there an hour and a half. It was a long ordeal. But people were amazed when Mac and Richard, brothers, opened up McDonald's in San Bernardino, California in the 40s and 50s. People could go and they could order at the window, and in 90 seconds, they had their food. It simply amazed people. That, we have caught on to that in every aspect of life. I want it now. I want a pay raise and be the boss at work now. God, you're too slow. I want it now. We need to be patient in life. Wait for God leading you. Let him lead. Let him. He knows the timing of what I need in life better than me. And I've decided that I am going to wait for him in life rather than getting ahead, pursuing my own desires. So, be patient. Be circumspect. Do you know, here's something interesting to see. He led the people in the wilderness, and he let them get thirsty before giving them water out of the rock. Could he have given them water, saying, okay, Moses got the map out and say, okay, over there is the rock that we're going to get water, so we'll go over there? No, he let them get thirsty in life first. And after they were thirsty, I think, trying them to see if they would be patient with him. After he was thirsty, he gave them the water. He let them get hungry on the road through the wilderness before he gave them the manna of life. And it's going to be no different for me or you in this life. We must learn patience and know he knows exactly, Liam, what you need in life. He knows exactly what you need. Be patient, waiting for him. I think he wanted them to know that I am going to take care of you in this trip. And in this trip of life, Spencer, he's going to take care of you. Be patient, waiting for him. But they couldn't wait. Could not wait. Don't be impatient. Wait for the Lord. Be circumspect, be patient, and be content. Look, if you will, at 1 Timothy chapter 6. Be content in this life. 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse number 6. But godliness, let me ask you something. Is godliness walking with him or pursuing my own desires? It's walking with him. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. Let me read the next verse. And having food and raiment, let us therewith be content. I know a very wealthy man. I've mentioned him probably a number of times here. He was a family friend. He was friends with my father when my dad was a little boy, knew him. He was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. He died at 64. All that money did nothing for him. Be content with what you have. He at the end of his life, he regretted spending all of his time pursuing money, and he realized he left all the really important things undone. Family, friends. I believe the Lord is trying to tell us in life, watch out what you want in life. Watch out. Want what he wants for you in life. And it changes the whole vision of how you view life. Let's be content and desire what he has. Let's don't go astray. Let's don't go away. Pursue him with everything that we have. We're dismissed.